The light rests here with a particular kind of patience, settling across the gray slate and the pale gravel in a way that makes the transition from the street feel like a slow intake of breath. There is a profound sense of containment within these few square meters, where the vertical lines of the architecture meet the soft, reaching height of the birch. The shadows are long and thin, stretching across the ground without any urgency to move. It is a space defined by what isn't there, a deliberate clearing of the mind before reaching the threshold of the home. You can see the way the light catches the edge of the planter, holding steady, while the air remains perfectly still. There is no sound here other than the imagined weight of the stones underfoot. The world outside the gate feels distant, separated by this thin veil of intentional quiet and the steady presence of the walls. Everything has its place, and in that placement there is a total absence of demand. From this height, the garden reveals its geometry, a simple circle held within the square of the yard, offering a point of focus that requires nothing from the observer. The grasses stand tall and motionless, their green blades fading into the soft light that fills the enclosure. There is a rhythmic quality to the white brick of the house, providing a textured backdrop that feels solid and protective. The dark mulch creates a deep, grounding contrast, anchoring the greenery to the earth. It is a view that suggests a quiet observation, a moment taken to look down and appreciate the balance of form and negative space. The fence line creates a definitive boundary, a promise of privacy that keeps the chaos of the neighborhood at bay. The stillness is heavy, almost tangible, as if the air itself has decided to rest within these walls. One could stand here for an eternity and never feel the need to change a single detail. The simplicity is the entire purpose of the space. The repetition of the spheres creates a visual hum, a steady beat of green against the stark white of the river stones. The stucco wall beside them is cool to the touch, catching the blue-tinted shadows of the late afternoon. This passage is narrow, a sliver of land that serves as a quiet corridor between the house and the world. There is a mathematical beauty in the spacing, a sense that someone cared deeply for the interval between each plant. The light is receding now, softening the edges of the boxwoods and making the white stones glow with a faint, reflected brilliance. It is a path that does not ask to be rushed. It invites a slow, rhythmic pace, matching the cadence of the garden itself. The enclosure feels absolute here, a private world tucked away from the street. No leaves rustle, no birds disturb the peace. The scene is a testament to the power of the singular idea, executed with a restraint that borders on the sacred. The concrete bench sits in the glow of the setting sun, its surface smooth and cold despite the warmth of the light. Behind it, the bamboo stands as a living wall, its vertical stems creating a screen that filters the golden rays into stripes of amber and shadow. This is a corner of the garden designed for sitting, though it remains empty, holding the space for a silence that feels intentional. The metal trough is weathered slightly, showing the passage of time in a way that feels graceful and permanent. The ground is clear, a simple expanse of paving that leads the eye toward the textures of the foliage. There is a sense of being shielded here, of having found a small pocket of the world where the clocks have stopped. The light lingers on the leaves, turning them translucent for a fleeting moment before the dusk begins to settle. It is a place of profound stillness, where the architecture of the home and the architecture of the plants meet in a quiet, respectful handshake. The sand has been raked into perfect, concentric circles, a pattern that suggests a hidden energy radiating from the basalt boulders. The boulders themselves are dark and heavy, their surfaces etched with the subtle history of the earth. Under the flat, overcast sky, the garden loses its shadows, becoming a study in texture and tone. The low stone wall marks the boundary of this small sanctuary, keeping the domestic world at a polite distance. There is no movement here, not even the suggestion of a breeze. The silence is thick, cushioned by the sand and the solid weight of the rocks. It is a landscape reduced to its most essential element: stone, sand, and the space between them. The eye follows the lines in the sand, finding a quiet satisfaction in the lack of chaos. In this small nook, the scale of the world seems to shrink until only this quiet arrangement matters. It is a portrait of endurance, a place where time is measured not in minutes, but in the slow, imperceptible shifts of the stones. The grid is precise, a green and gray chessboard that stretches toward the glass of the front door. In the reflection, the garden repeats itself, creating an illusion of depth within the small, locked space. The sun is high, casting short, sharp shadows that emphasize the texture of the mondo grass. Each blade is vertical and still, contributing to the overall sense of order and calm. The house feels integrated into the landscape, the glass acting as a bridge between the interior life and the exterior peace. There is a clarity to the scene that feels refreshing, a removal of the unnecessary until only the structure remains. The concrete pavers are warm, radiating a gentle heat that seems to still the air even further. This is a front garden that greets the visitor with a clear, uncomplicated message of balance. No weeds dare to break the symmetry, and no wind disturbs the arrangement. It is a moment of total visual equilibrium, held in the bright, unflinching light of noon. The Japanese maple stands as a solitary figure, its delicate leaves forming a canopy of soft green that seems to float over the dark moss. The light filters through the branches in a dappled pattern, creating a shifting mosaic of brightness on the ground. The dark wood fence provides a somber, rich background that makes the green of the foliage pop with a quiet intensity. This is a garden of textureless velvet of the moss, the papery thinness of the leaves, the rough grain of the wood. It is a space that feels deeply enclosed, a secret kept between the house and its boundary. There is a sense of fragility here, a beauty that exists in the stillness. The air is cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of the moss. Everything is perfectly balanced, the single tree providing enough interest to fill the entire frame of the mind. The world beyond the fence is completely forgotten, replaced by this small, perfect expression of nature within a residential frame. The steps rise slowly, carrying the eye from the sidewalk toward the hidden entrance of the home. Each level is held by a weathered steel planter, the rusted orange of the metal contrasting beautifully with the muted greens and blues of the succulents. These plants are sculptural, their thick leaves holding moisture and silence in equal measure. The light gray gravel crunching under an imagined foot is the only sound that belongs here. The late afternoon sun hits the edge of the steel, creating a thin line of fire that outlines the geometry of the space. There is a rugged elegance to the materials, a feeling of permanency and strength. The garden doesn't struggle against the limitations of its size. Instead, it uses the height to create a sense of journey within a few short steps. It is a quiet ascent, a gradual removal from the public space into the private sanctuary. The stillness is bolstered by the weight of the metal and the density of the plants, creating an atmosphere of solid, unwavering peace. The water is a dark mirror, perfectly still and reflecting the pale sky above. A single lily pad floats near the center, its green surface broken only by a few beads of mist that refuse to run off. The dark slate tiles are wet, their surfaces shimmering with a quiet, low-key light. This courtyard is a hidden jewel, a place where the house turns inward to find its center. The walls are close, creating a sense of intimacy that is almost overwhelming. There is no movement in the water, no ripple to disturb the reflection. The morning mist hangs in the air, softening the lines of the architecture and blurring the edges of the garden. It is a scene of profound isolation, but not a lonely one. It is the isolation of a treasure kept in a box. The silence is absolute, broken only by the rhythm of one's own breathing. In this small square of water, the entire world seems to find its focus, settling into a state of total, unmoving grace. The fern unfurls its fronds in a slow, elegant arc, the green leaves stark against the gray of the concrete wall. It sits in a black ceramic pot, its surface so smooth it seems to absorb the soft overhead light. The ground is a sea of river stones, each one rounded by time and polished by the environment. This is a garden of singular focus, where one plant is given the space to be entirely itself. The concrete wall is high, cutting off the view of the street and creating a canyon of quiet. There is a monastic quality to the space, a rejection of the cluttered world in favor of a single, perfect form. The light is even and gentle, casting no harsh shadows and allowing the textures of the stone and leaf to speak for themselves. It is a place of profound concentration, where the mind can rest on the curve of a stem or the smoothness of a pebble. The enclosure is a gift, a boundary that allows this small moment of beauty to exist undisturbed. At twilight, the white hydrangeas seem to glow from within, their heavy heads bowing slightly in the cooling air. The gray decking is smooth and wide, providing a neutral stage for the flowers and the low-slung wooden benches. This terrace is an extension of the living room, a place where the indoors spills out into the quiet of the evening. The garden is small, but it feels expansive in its simplicity. The benches are empty, waiting for a conversation that hasn't happened yet, or perhaps enjoying the silence of one that has just ended. The light is fading fast, turning the greens to deep shadows and the whites to pale ghosts. There is a sense of completion here, a feeling that nothing more needs to be added. The house looms behind, its windows dark, watching over this small patch of order. The air is still, and the world is winding down, leaving this garden to exist in a state of soft, fading brilliance. It is a place to watch the day disappear and feel entirely at peace with the coming night. The vertical garden climbs the brick wall like a slow-moving wave of green and purple, turning a narrow alleyway into a lush, living corridor. The succulents are packed tightly together, their diverse shapes and colors creating a rich tapestry of texture. Looking up from the gravel floor, the sliver of sky above feels far away, making the enclosure feel even more intimate and protective. The light is cool and indirect, bouncing off the bricks and illuminating the plants with a soft, even glow. This is a garden that makes use of every inch, proving that scale is no barrier to beauty. The gravel underfoot is undisturbed, a flat plane of gray that anchors the verticality of the space. There is a profound sense of quiet here, the brick walls acting as soundproofing against the hum of the city. It is a hidden passage, a secret garden that only those who know where to look can find. The stillness is absolute, a moment of vertical peace held between the solid weight of the buildings. The oak gate is closed, its light wood grain glowing in the fresh morning sun. It is a simple barrier, more of a suggestion than a fortification, marking the point where the world ends and the sanctuary begins. The stone path leads the eye directly to the latch, a journey of only a few steps that feels significant. The evergreen shrubs are mounded and soft, creating a low horizon of green that cradles the path. This is the final threshold, the last moment of the garden before the transition to the home. The light is clean and hopeful, casting short shadows that dance slightly as the sun rises higher. There is a deep, resonant peace in this final scene, a sense of having arrived exactly where one belongs. The garden is small, enclosed, and perfectly balanced, a testament to the power of a few well-chosen elements. The gate remains shut, holding the stillness inside, a quiet promise of the peace that lies within. The walk is over, but the atmosphere remains, a lingering scent of stone and green.